Hello again. My name is Sean and I'm an elder at Andover Baptist Church. This week I've called my series of devotions Who is in Control? And I'm using the example of how air traffic control guide the flight of an aircraft as a metaphor for how God being in control of our lives and guiding us is so much better than us attempting to do this on our own, just as allowing all aircraft to fly wherever and whenever they wish would be an absolute disaster too. Earlier this week I explained about my love of aviation and how as a teenager I was unable to follow my desire to become a pilot, but that I was successful in getting onto an air traffic control training course in Bournemouth. Well, I started the training course and what followed was 12 months of intensive training. It was really intense, with so much learning and exam after exam, but at the same time it was all about aviation and I found it to be wonderful. Amongst other things, I got to learn to fly a light aircraft on a 2-week intensive course at Cardiff Airport, living at the Flying Club with a group of others from my course. Yes, that really is me, with long hair and Elton John style glasses, having just completed my first ever solo flight. I gained qualifications in air law and meteorology, and best of all I got to work in the air traffic control tower at Glasgow Airport for some weeks as part of my training, learning the trade, as it were. There I am again, looking very smart with the same glasses on. Eventually, the day came when at Stansted Airport in Essex, I qualified as a tower controller. The tower controller is the one who sits in control towers you've probably all seen at airports, and who controls landings and takeoffs, and at smaller airports the ground movements too. It was like being in heaven for me, working all day, every day with aircraft from tiny little light ones to huge Boeing 747s and pretty much everything in between. I'll continue this story tomorrow. If you watched my devotion video yesterday, you may remember that we were in an aircraft travelling from Heathrow to Edinburgh, and we were sitting at the end of the runway, having been given permission by the tower controller to take off. The pilot will push the thrust levers forward to take off power, and the plane will accelerate down the runway until it reaches a pre-calculated speed known as V1, which is the speed at which there's no going back because there's no longer enough runway ahead of you to stop safely. Just after that, the plane reaches takeoff speed and the pilot pulls back on the stick, the nose lifts up and away you go. It's as easy as that. As the plane starts to climb, the undercarriage is lifted away and the tower controller will hand the plane over to another person called the departure controller. That person will help guide the plane away from the airport as it climbs, keeping it well away from other aircraft above, below and at the same level. So far then, that's at least 3 types of control for the flight, and we're only just off the ground at this point. The plane will continue to climb as guided by the controller, but only to the flight levels that are approved. And over our UK, the airspace is divided into 2 main types. There are others. Controlled airspace, and not surprisingly, uncontrolled airspace. Most aircraft you see are in the uncontrolled type, the light aircraft of course, and there you can within reason fly wherever you wish, often with no air traffic watching you and limited help should you need it. Aircraft flying commercial routes though will always be in controlled airspace, where everything they do is guided by air traffic control. Above Britain there's a network of airways which are very much like very wide roads, and then the air is split into sectors, each controlled by a different person or group of people. And so as a plane flies from Heathrow to Edinburgh, it will pass through the hands of multiple people who are known as area controllers. The main UK area control centre is now in a place called Swanwick near Southampton, and it's a lovely light-filled building with multiple banks of computer screens showing the progress of all the planes above the UK. Just as those air traffic controllers look after and guide so many flights, so God looks after and guides our lives, if we let him. There are so many things I love about God, but one of the most amazing for me is that he is the creator of the universe, the king of all things, full of awesome power and might, and yet he cares about tiny little me. He wants to guide me, but if I choose not to allow it, he doesn't force himself on me as he so easily could. He just steps back and lets me have control. "OK, Sean," he says, "if you think you know best, then by all means have a go." Will I never learn? Just as if an air traffic controller did that with an aircraft, it would probably spell disaster. When I leave God out of things, then so often they fail or fall flat, or they just don't work anywhere near as well as they would have done if I'd let him be in charge. Philippians 4 verse 6 says this: "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus." God gives us a prescription here for anxiety and worry, and that is prayer. Be quick to pray when the anxious thoughts begin to rise. When we take our requests to God, we're allowing him to work in our lives and take control of our thoughts and emotions. We cannot understand supernatural peace until we surrender our mind to God's ways and thoughts. Reading the Bible and thinking about what you read, and then praying throughout the day, will allow us to see events through God's perspective and mean that we're letting go of our own control and handing things over to him. This is simple to say and not so easy to do, but practice makes perfect in so many ways, and so my prayer for you today is that you will try and speak with God right through the day, bringing every worry or anxious thought to him, thanking him when things go well, trusting him when they don't, asking for his help when you are not sure, and trusting that his answer will be the right one. Give him some room today. Let him have control. Today's song is called "I Am Yours" from the Bigger Than My Imagination album by Michael Gungor. The song has special memories for me, and I hope you enjoy listening to it. A link to the song can be found in the description below this video. Thank you for listening to me today, and I hope you can join me again tomorrow. Goodbye.